Last night at the US Open, women's semifinal match for climate protesters disrupted play by standing up and yelling for an end to fossil fuels. You'll see it.
If we don't disrupt climate change, will. If we don't disrupt climate change, will. Fossil fuels! Fossil fuels! Fossil fuels!
Protesters didn't seem to have much support. You heard lots of boos there from the crowd that wanted play to continue. 3 of the 4 protesters were removed without incident. The 4th, though, had another plan, actually glued his bare feet to the concrete floor. Police officers, medical personnel were brought in to safely remove the 4th protester. It's unclear how exactly security and the police were able to unstick the man's feet from the stadium floor. Delay lasted a full 49 minutes. Players exiting the court, going back to the locker room. The crowd was clearly not pleased. Could be heard chanting and cheering as police confronted the protesters.
Kick them out! Kick them out! Kick them out! Kick them out! Kick them out!
So it was announced today 2 of the protesters were charged. 35-year-old Gregory Schwedock of New York City, arrested, charged with criminal trespass. 50-year-old Sayak Mukhopadhyay, I'm sure I butchered that, White Plains, New York, charged with criminal trespass, disorderly conduct. New York Police Department said. Forbes with the reporting. The group behind the protest has also spoken out. Extinction Rebellion NYC, an environmental activist group, said in a statement after the delay that its activists were there to call for an end to fossil fuels and that there is no tennis on a dead planet. The New York Times. Miles Grant, an Extinction Rebellion spokesman, said in a statement this: the climate is already more disruptive than any activist can possibly be. Just look at the US Open and other big tennis events. Year after year, average temperatures have been rising, making it hotter, more dangerous for the players and spectators. At some point, there will be fewer outdoor sporting events due to excessive heat. And they're not wrong about that. Heat front and center at this year's US Open. Group's protest came as players at the Open have been forced to contend with some of the hottest weather of the tournament, with temperatures this week rising into the 90s and humidity making it feel even hotter at times. Highs in New York this week have been about 10 degrees above normal for this time of year, according to the National Weather Service. It has been so hot that Daniil Medvedev, a pro tennis player, commented on the brutal conditions midway through the 3rd set. 27-year-old could be heard saying to the camera, "One player is going to die and you are going to see it." CNN with the reporting there. So let's talk about that. Your reaction first, Jank, to the protesters, the creativity, I guess, of the super glue. Was that Gorilla Glue? What's the glue that is almost impossible to remove, but they did get it off? And that statement that caught our attention, there'd be no tennis, if everyone's dead.
Yeah, so I'm torn on this. So we did a similar story on how people were throwing fake blood on some of the best art in the world, including Van Gogh's, etc. And it didn't ruin the paintings, but it did look like it did, and it really freaked people out. And we did a poll on that one, and you guys came in 75-25, basically saying it was not a good tactic. I'm starting to get swayed, and I'll tell you why in a second. So we're gonna do a poll on this one too. So go to tyt.com/polls. We'll have the link down below. Easy to click in the description box. Okay, so why am I torn? On the one hand, it's incredibly aggravating, and so whenever people are hearing about your cause, they're hearing about it in a context where you set it up so that they don't like you, and so that's not great framing, right? And secondly, they're usually doing it in more liberal places where people are predisposed to agreeing with you, but then now you've aggravated them, and so then they make it maybe are now all of a sudden less likely to agree with you. So that's the downsides of the strategy. The upsides though are, number one, they did get everybody's attention, and it is not easy to get people's attention. And so the US Open's like, I don't know why they did this. We have a facility, an area for protesters in Connecticut. It's in New York, the tournament. Now I'm kidding that it's in Connecticut, but no, if you wheel pen protesters 3 blocks away and nobody sees them, that's not useful. That's not a real protest. That's a real protest, whether you like it or you don't. And then, okay, so you got the people's attention, but that's not mission accomplished. What do you do with their attention? And then they kind of delivered. I mean, they said, look, we're inconveniencing you, it's true. On the other hand, we're all gonna be rather inconvenienced when we're all dead. And the climate change is not theoretical, it's not hypothetical, it's very much real. And whenever I see these things, I think of the movie Don't Look Up. And so the comet's gonna land and we're all gonna die. And we're like, boo, get off the tennis court. We're trying to play tennis here. Well, I hear you and I do wanna watch tennis match. On the other hand, we might all die. And so I get why they're inconveniencing us. So in this case, it's not as direct as the comet's gonna land in a week, but look, now 71% of Americans are saying, yeah, I get it, climate change is here. And I've seen it, and now over 50% of Americans saying, I've experienced it. So are we gonna do anything about it? And right now the resounding answer from our government, our politicians, and our leaders is, hell no, let's go back to tennis. And I'm not sure that's the right answer either. Mondale, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think like the idea that, people understand the statistics that you said are spot on. You said that people are aware that climate change is here, but they will boo you for reminding them that that's equating to death in real senses. I mean, like what happened in Maui, what happened we just had 2 of the hottest months in ever recorded in human history. This is not a joke. I mean, I understand that people enjoy tennis. I enjoy tennis, but I think we need to be inconvenienced to the point that we are rattled. We are scared beyond. We're talking about our democracies at stake, our planet's at stake. And I don't think we can sit by idly anymore and allow people, just 3 people, to be uncomfortable in this situation. I felt like everybody should have been cheering them on and taking 45, 50 minutes to hear this idea. Yeah, you paid for the most expensive tennis tickets in the world, but what world if we continue to heat this planet up in the way we did? I mean, and I think they were extremely successful because right now we're talking about it on one of, if not the most popular progressive networks in the world. But also I think, the fact that mainstream media even covered this means something to this. And then the fact that they got to follow up with that powerful statement that there's no tennis on a dead planet, gave me cold chills. And I know I'm not the only person that felt that.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And I think it was a resounding success because if you like tennis, maybe you want to rethink the boos. When one of the stars puts out statements, Coco Gauff, 19-year-old American who won the disruptive match, she spoke about the incident during her press conference, indicated she could sympathize with the protesters. Here's what she said: throughout history, moments like this are definitely defining moments. I believe in climate change. I don't really know exactly what they were protesting. I know it was about the environment. I 100% believe in that. I think there are things we can do better. I know the tournaments are doing things to do better for the environment. Would I prefer it not happening in my match? 100%, yeah. Not gonna sit here and lie, but it is what it is, Coco went on to say. I wasn't pissed at the protesters. I know the stadium was because it just interrupted entertainment. I always speak about preaching what you feel and what you believe in. It was done in a peaceful way, so I can't get too mad at it. If that's what they felt they needed to do to get their voices heard, I can't really get upset at it. So there's that. I think it was a success, Cenk.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, that Coco Gauff quote kind of puts it over the top. Now, she's got a lot of fans. And by the way, tons of celebrities were at that game because of her. And so they all got to see it. She puts out a positive statement, that gets more attention. All of a sudden, a little bit of momentum and starting to get people on their side. And so Look, overall I love protests as long as they have a specific objective, and here they are headed towards an objective, and they're grabbing people's attention. And so, but I want to end on two things: a serious thing and a light thing. The serious thing is, as we're talking about all this, let me just remind you of how dire this situation is. This just came out in The Guardian, I believe, yesterday. I'm going to give you just a small quote from it. In West Antarctica, a region considered particularly vulnerable to warming with an ice sheet that could push up global sea levels by several meters if it collapsed. Just that one ice cap, several meters globally, okay? The study found warming at twice the rate suggested by climate models. The climate scientists were not too speculative, they were too conservative. Climate change is happening quicker than the scientists predicted, and so certainly we can all agree that the content of the protest is 100% right, and we better focus, and not just on the entertainment, but on what we need to do. And unfortunately, here's another thing we all agree 100% on. Our leaders in Washington are not at all focused on it, and they're all trying to make money off that comet before it kills us all. And so I guess I've come back around to thank you to the protesters for trying to draw people's attention to this righteous cause. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.